Okay. Hello, everybody. I want to introduce to you my dear friend and I guess technically patient, Bianca Rodriguez, who is this amazing psychotherapist who also wraps up spirituality into it and just touches the hearts and lives of people in pretty remarkable ways.
Okay, that was the best intro ever. We were thinking about who should intro who. We should do it ourselves. I'm so glad I let you do it. So let's see if I can do well too. This is Dr. Pejman Kateraei. He is an integrative doctor, medical doctor, but he's also a wizard of holistic healing, bringing together mind, body, and spirit. He works primarily with children, but he makes exceptions for some immature adults, and he has tremendously helped me feel better, stabilize my mood, which was a major task, and just look at my body and healing in an entirely new way, and empower me to know that my body's natural alignment is to be whole and to be complete and to be aligned, and that through supplements we can realign ourselves without having to go to like heavy duty pharmaceuticals.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And today we wanted to talk about the power of lithium, not the battery. What are we talking when we talk about lithium?
Well, yeah, I think what we're talking about is something that is so remarkably underutilized. Most people don't know about it. Most people have a bias against it, right? Because we think of lithium as the medicine for crazy people. But what we don't realize is that lithium is actually a naturally occurring mineral that is found in our water. And for most of us, we actually get doses of lithium every day when we drink our water. Because lithium is found in rock. And as water goes through the rock, it actually picks up the lithium and delivers it into our body. Now, when we drink a reverse osmosis water, purified water, whether it's bottled or we've got a system at home, all that lithium gets stripped out.
Oh, the Brita that I'm using at home is just taking all the lithium out?
Brita doesn't. Some water, so some places don't have much lithium in their water, so it just kind of depends on where the water is coming from.
Okay, got it.
But the primary way of us getting lithium is actually through our water. And sometimes the filters, sometimes depending on where the water is coming from, it may just not have a whole lot of lithium. And what most people don't realize is that lithium is actually a critical mineral for the body and the brain.
Okay, what does it do?
So one, it actually changes basically the braking system of the brain. So just like when we take magnesium and suddenly we're like relaxed, we can sleep better. Lithium actually is a more potent activator of the GABA receptors than magnesium is. And both of them are critical minerals or cofactors for the braking system.
Wait a second. Whoa! How did I not totally get this? I've been taking it for like 5 months.
Well, why don't you share your experience?
But that's what it is. So we were just talking about one of the things that I found. So I'm a person that struggles with impulse control. I'm verbally impulsive, as you guys can see. I'm in recovery from alcoholism. And so, I find that I am very quick to react to emotions, but also I struggle with delayed gratification. It's uncomfortable. I want it now. And yesterday I was driving home from an appointment and I had to meet some friends. And my main drug of choice now is caffeine. And so I really wanted to get a tea. And I looked at the clock and it said, look, it's going to take you, 30 minutes to get to this restaurant to meet these people. And this may not be a big deal for you, but if you're like me, you'll realize that this is big. I was able to look at the clock and go, you know what? You can wait 30 minutes. You're going to delay going to Starbucks right now and probably being late to wait till you get to the restaurant. I'm sure they have tea at the restaurant and you're going to have it there. And for me, it felt like such a win because I've spent so much time kind of fighting myself, logically understanding that I need to be somewhere, go somewhere, that this is going to take me out of the way, that it's really not that important, but there's like a driver inside of me that makes me feel like I'm not always in control. Yeah, you feel it. And this just was so profound to me yesterday. I was like, wow, like I can just wait till later. And what's amazing is that over the past 5 months, I have saved so much money because in general, I am not going to Starbucks so often anymore because I'm like, make your tea at home. And all of this probably sounds really obvious. And I always think what's fascinating is that, you know, we always think making a change takes a long time. But I don't think making a change takes a long time. Making a change takes 1 second because you decide to make the change. There's all this stuff that goes beforehand, which is not making a change. It's maybe thinking about it, this and the other. And I just feel like this gave me the stability, breathing room, space, lowering the kind of feeling so that I could make a choice. And as a meditator, I know that's what I'm doing when I'm practicing transcendental meditation, but as we both know as meditators, that can take a very long time. And this has just propped that up and made it even
easier to do the good things you want to do.
Yes. All right, what were you nodding your head about? How did
so I mean, I think a lot of these things in my own way I've experienced, and you know, for me, I've had bouts of anxiety for, you know, my entire life, and I think why I enjoy working with children that have, you know, gnarly behavioral issues and working with the mental health is because, you know, this is what I've had to go through to understand why I've had the issues that I do.
Amen. Me too.
So it's been kind of a self-healing journey for me, and when I took lithium, it was pretty instantaneous. I would say within the first week or so, I found like there was almost a buffer where there was reaction, buffer, action.
Yes.
And I had that moment, like you said, the pause, where I could stop for a second and be like, maybe I shouldn't act on that.
Yes.
Rather than reaction, go.
And the ability to make the choices where the power lies.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm an adult case. What have you seen in the kids that you've worked with?
So, you know, a lot of the children, actually the most interesting part of the changes that I've seen in the children I work with are kids with sensory issues. So these are kids that as soon as they get overwhelmed, they freak out, you know, any little thing bothers them, they're just out. So in them, I find that they're just calmer in their own skin. Like the little things that used to bug them suddenly don't bother them as much. There was one little kiddo that we gave magnesium and lithium to, and like he couldn't go into a playground to play with other children because like he was that overwhelmed and it was that irritating to him.
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
I mean, can you imagine like a 5 or 6 year old, like they can't go play with other kids because it's just too overwhelming.
Oh my gosh.
And then 2 weeks later, the same kid was in the playground playing with other kids happily, being able to tolerate all of that chaos.
That's amazing.
It is.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I bet this would be very helpful. I'm not really a person that suffers with social anxiety, but I would imagine that I work with a lot of clients that do struggle with social anxiety. Have you had any experiences with that?
I mean, I think generically speaking, because my focus is mostly on the kids, I could say generically the changes that I see will be applicable to that. And, you know, I think the beauty of this conversation is we're talking about a mineral that is in some people's water, not all. It is absolutely safe in low nutritional doses. So in 1 milligram doses, even 5 milligram doses, like you cannot do harm. And that's the thing I think that makes this conversation so cool. So, you know, in the psychiatry community, when they're giving 1,000 milligram doses, 2,000 milligram doses a day, like you can have toxicity from that. And the psychiatrists need to watch that, or whoever is treating that patient needs to watch that.
Right.
When you do basically 1/1000th the dose of what the psychiatrists are giving, you can't at this dose, because chances are some people are getting that same dose in their water.
Right, and they're not having adverse effects.
No, that's
they don't
the
even
part.
know it's happening.
No.
Wow. So there's really no side effects. I have personally not noticed any side effects, and I'm taking 5 milliliters. Is it milligrams a day?
Okay.
And I haven't noticed any side effects. Have you seen any in any of your patients?
No, not at all. I mean, really, the only thing is, and it doesn't work for everyone. But I mean, that goes across the board, right?
For
There's
anything.
Nothing that works for everyone all the time.
Right.
It's just, if you happen to be someone who's deficient in lithium, it's like a switch can go on.
Wow. And so how do you feel like, why do you think we got deficient in lithium, like as a culture, have we? Because I'm thinking about maybe the way water's being delivered to us now. Like, do you think that this has always been a thing? Kind of like our gluten talk a couple years back. It's real, people. Gluten and wheat is not your friend. I thought it was BS, and then we had
you found out the hard way.
I did.
You found out the hard way.
I was bloated for 2 years. Yeah.
It took you, what, 5 times until you finally...
I know, it's so annoying, those cookies. Chocolate chip
Yeah,
cookies
no.
are my downfall. But tell me, do you think anything's changed? Like, why
So,
now? Why hasn't anybody else figured this out? Why are you the man?
I'm just the messenger.
Mhm.
There are people before me that have talked about this.
Right.
So, I mean, we've known about this for probably decades. It's just no one's talking about it. I think because so many people are scared of like, oh, lithium,
Lithium's used primarily to treat bipolar
Yeah.
disorder, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't think of lithium as a nutrient. And I think as a community,
Yeah.
what we need to be thinking about is the same way we talk about magnesium, the same way we talk about vitamin, fill in the blank, vitamin C. Everyone takes vitamin C. You don't ever think about vitamin C as something weird. You don't think about magnesium as something weird.
That's true.
We need to think about lithium as a nutrient. And when we start thinking about it in that way, that's when the conversation can change. And I think the problem is twofold. So there's a lot more people drinking filtered water. There's also this fact that, back in the days, our soil used to have a whole lot more minerals and vitamins and various other things actually in it.
Right.
As modern farming practices have come about, all of these minerals and nutrients have been stripped from the soil. So the foods that also used to have lithium now are also deficient in lithium. So there's probably a decent part of the population, I mean, we don't know, 5%, 10%, 20%, we don't know, that are not getting lithium from anywhere. And you add to that the wrong combination of genes, right? It's like having the car that goes way too fast on its own, and then you disable the brakes, and then you've got a mess. We have the cars that go a little bit too fast on their own, right? And without lithium, our brakes just don't work.
What a great analogy. Okay, so if you're a car that has a tendency to go a little bit too fast, and what are the symptoms that we look at, that we see that tend to be cars that go a little too fast? I would say anxiety, addictions of any kind, any sort of obsessive, addicting, feeling like you can't control a behavior or consuming something. I think sensory sensitivity, which I also have, and I know you experience too. I can be easily overwhelmed. I don't like to be in crowds, music too loud, too hot, too cold, very easily agitated by those things. And then also depression. Yep.
So the depression is kind of a secondary thing with lithium, because this is the cool part of lithium. It turns out that lithium is also one of the most important antioxidants for the brain. So there's a bunch of studies that are looking at how lithium may actually prevent dementia, Alzheimer's, all kinds of brain degenerative diseases long term.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Yeah.
Wow, we're catching everybody. We start with the little ones, and now we're going all the way up to people who are getting in their senior years, and we're going to be giving lithium to basically everyone.
I mean, we should. Like, the same way we pick iodine and salt, honestly, what we should be doing, considering how safe it is, and ultimately there's a percentage of the population that would really benefit from this, it should actually be included in all of our multivitamins. And that's the sad part. If you look, minus the vitamins for kids with autism, there is no multivitamin right now that has lithium in it.
Are you going to make one?
Maybe.
I think that's the next brilliant idea. So tell me the secondary impact of lithium on depression.
So because lithium decreases inflammation in the brain, so for some people, not all, for some people, depression is actually an inflammatory response within the brain that then tweaks the brain chemistry, changes brain functioning, which then shows up as this atypical depression. And these are also people that generally do not respond well to medications, have side effects, so there's there's the camp that you take whatever Zoloft, and then a few weeks later, the birds are chirping, sun is out, everything's good.
Fine. Yeah.
And then there's the population, you take some kind of psychotropic medication and nothing works for you.
Treatment-resistant depression.
So chances are these people have depression, but it's actually a neuroinflammatory condition where their brains are literally inflamed, which then causes this weird anxiety-like, depressive-like, kind of muddy picture. And depending on whom you talk to, someone would label it as depression, some may call it some kind of mixed psycho disease.
Right.
But a lot of these people have neuroinflammation. And the cool thing about lithium, because it changes multiple inflammatory pathways, it doesn't just change one thing, it changes multiple different pathways.
Wow.
It actually calms down brain inflammation and improves cognitive functioning because it also changes this compound called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is kind of like the fertilizer, if you want to say, or like the super multivitamin for the brain. It actually helps basically keep brain cells from dying and help regenerate new brain cells. So with that action, along with the anti-inflammatory effects, what it could do is basically start repairing the brain. And when that action happens, you can start getting a decrease in depressive symptoms because cognitive functioning has now started being optimized. Pretty cool.
Wow, so cool. And this is why you say lithium, nutrient for everyone.
It should be.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, what else should we talk about? I do want to talk about the new project that you are launching.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Tell us.
So, you know, what I've realized over the last decade now of working with these kids is there's no one thing that fixes everything for all kids. And sadly, how we approach children with behavioral issues, we're talking severe anxiety, like kids that can't leave the house, you know, weird depression in 5-year-olds, you know, awful sensory processing issues where literally the child cannot wear anything other than the one t-shirt that they're comfortable with. Kids that are just flipping out have OCD, you know, oppositional defiant. Like there's such a smattering of diagnoses that get thrown at these kids. At the end of the day, their brains are not functioning. And what I see is we have taken what we think works for adults, and you know, some of the information is amazing, and we think that kids are just little adults, so we were like, well, if the gut treatments in these programs work for adults, then it should work for kids. And over the last decade of working with these kids, I've realized that there's like 30% of them that work with the functional medicine types of treatments. And then there's this entire camp that are just continue to struggle. You eliminate the foods, you do all of these things, and some get better and some don't. So why I created this company and program that we're calling Holistic Minds is it's really about bringing everything together. And everything, I mean, craniosacral osteopathic treatments, occupational therapy, vision therapy, metabolic support, gut support, checking them for chronic infections, balancing the hormones, improving gut functioning, like bringing all of these things together in one environment. And the really cool thing is, once you start bringing all of these modalities together and then say, okay, well, this kid needs actually more occupational therapy and some metabolic support. This kid has a mold issue. This kid has this issue. And we create very custom, tailor-made programs for each child. And we really address their structural issues, because I would say at least maybe 30-40% of these kiddos actually have issues going all the way back to birth. So they had difficult births, they had all kinds of things happen right around birth, they had tongue ties that got missed, and these all cause weird strain patterns in their nervous system that then cause all kinds of strange developmental issues, sensory processing issues, all kinds of other neurosensory problems to come about that you could do every elimination diet under the sun. Because it's a structural problem, it won't work. And one example, we had one beautiful little girl, genius. I mean, we're talking smart as can be.
Wow.
We did the elimination diet, we treated her gut, we did all of these things, marginal improvement, maybe 10%, 20% improvement. And then as the mom and I were talking, you know, the mom was like, yeah, it takes her like 50 minutes to finish a meal. I'm like, that's strange. Like for a simple meal, this little girl, everyone else is done in 15, 20 minutes, and she's sitting there and like slowly trying to eat. I'm like, does she struggle eating like chicken and steak? She's like, yeah, she kind of doesn't like it. And then we kept talking. This was like kind of as an aside that she mentioned it, thinking it was nothing. I'm like, maybe she has a tongue tie. And there are types of tongue ties that for the life of me I still can't diagnose. I know they're there. I know what things could be caused by them.
Right. What is a tongue tie?
So a tongue tie is basically when the tongue is just attached to the bottom of the mouth. And it turns out that when the tongue is attached to the base of the mouth, it causes, one, this weird strain pattern in the skull, which then throws off the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system.
Wow.
So these kids are always in a fight-flight mode all the time. And part of that is also, we have this pressure point in the upper palate, so right kind of here. And when the tongue is tied down, on top of weird strain patterns in the neck that throw off the vagus nerve, and that the tongue can never touch that pressure point. So in kids, when we're all of us, when we're sitting there, mouth is closed, tongue actually goes and pushes up on that pressure point all the time. We don't think about it. It's just part of our normal, right? In these kids, because their tongues are glued down, the tongue never touches that point. So there's like almost a circuit that gets missed. It's crazy, right?
Wow.
And they can never go into a full parasympathetic rest and relaxation state because of a structural abnormality. So this is the part that's really nutty. So this girl was about to get like, the teachers are like, yeah, you know, she's got all these issues. We don't know if she can continue, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we think she's going to have delays forever, blah, blah, blah. Like, horrible prognosis. Mom was this warrior that's like, the hell with you, we're going to find the solution. And it was purely by accident. I wish, like, I was smart enough to catch on, but it was purely by accident that she mentioned that to me, and it was like our third session.
Right.
So, long story short, they go, she has the tongue released, they do some myofunctional therapy and mouth therapy. A month and a half later, nervous system changed. She went from being one of the poorest students in the classroom to actually advancing 2 or 3 grade levels within like a few months. The teachers were just blown away, like boom, right? And she had a tongue tie. And that was one of her primary issues.
There's so much that we don't know affects us. And that's part of what I love about the work that you do, and having worked with you, is that you take your time to investigate the entire system.
You have to.
Yes, it's not just you have this symptom, let's slap this on. Yes, you take time to figure out the entire system, and if there is some kind of structural thing going on. And I have seen massive changes, having been a person who, you know, has been on psychotropic medication, has gone various routes, have tried many different things. This has been the most healing experience I've had yet, because you took the time and you didn't treat me like you treat everybody else, right? You knew that my anatomy, biology, experiences, you know, was unique, and that we have to take the time to figure that out for each and every person.
Yeah. You know, I think at the end of the day, that's really what this program is about. It's about getting rid of these boundaries of like, this is the best tool, you know, functional medicine and gut protocols fixes everything, or this fixes everything. It's like, no, everything has a place.
Yep, it's a multi-pronged approach, I call it, with my clients. Yes, we have to treat mind, body, spirit, and then also in unique ways. And some people respond to certain interventions and other people don't. Yeah. And it's so incredible that you're going to have it all in one place, because I find that what's most frustrating a lot of the time is that, you know, the medical system is so fractured, and so there's no like quarterback on the team. And so, you know, people are going to the occupational therapist, and they have like this naturopath, and they're doing all these different things, but nobody's working together. So you're going to have that all housed in one place. And then I also imagine too, creating the space for people to have a place to go, to feel like they're not alone, to feel like they're not alone in parenting a kid who has these, you know, unique issues, and creating a forum for people to create community.
Yeah, it's about community. It's about creating the communities and bringing people together so they realize they're not alone. Because literally, I imagine there are hundreds of thousands of families that are in this boat, that have nowhere to go to. They don't know what's going on. Their primary pediatrician, the psychiatrist, have no idea what's going on with these kids. You know, and it is about creating a community, and just saying that, you know what, the answers are out there. If we know how to look for them, the answers are out there. And that I think is one of the fundamental things.
Is, are we asking the right questions?
Are we asking,
Are we asking the right questions? And so what I've also picked up from this is that, wow, it's kind of like lithium had a bad PR person. You know what I mean? If you think about it, it's like, because I have sent this information to a lot of people, and people are like in batteries? Why would you take that? And so just one, thank God there's a movement about reducing the stigma around mental health issues, because that is a primary treatment for bipolar disorder, which we want to also destigmatize bipolar disorder. And we also want to destigmatize the fact that lithium is used to treat this particular disorder, and that it can help
So,
so many people. And it's it's depending on the quantity as to how it's going to affect you and what symptoms you're treating, but a really small amount can help so
Yeah.
I mean so much.
Yeah.
So much.
absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else you want to share?
No.
Yeah.
I mean that's it. There's so much for us to do. So many people that can benefit from the lithium, from these integrative, whole person approaches. And I think at the end of the day, if we start stepping outside of our box of this is the modality that I know fixes everything, because everyone has something to share. The occupational therapists have something to share. The dentists that deal with the tongue ties have something to share. Everyone has something to share. And when we bring all of these things together, bring in the lithium, bring all of these things and create one cohesive system that can then help, then it becomes this, I don't even know how to say it, this path that we can navigate together to really heal adults and children.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's sign off. If you have any questions, you can contact you.
Sure.
If you have any questions, and I say we'll put the link to the particular supplement that I've been taking, which I found better results with the liquid versus the capsule. I just found it worked faster. So we can put the link to
Awesome.
the Pure Naturals we like.
Pure encapsulations.
Pure Encapsulations. And so if you want to try it, we'll have it down there for you. And
We'll also put a link to Holistic Mind. So for those of you that are interested, we invite you to take a look and share the information with people that need it.
yes, please share. Please
Please,
share.
please.
We all deserve to feel good, and we all deserve to have access to this affordable, easy to take, low risk, very powerful